the video team was going through video and stuff from the show, because obviously everything gets videoed and stuff will be up and is up on the app as we go. I'd love at some point for that entire show as one long video to be up, because it was just nonstop. I don't know.
Should.
I mean, they might.
But
I don't know if they honestly have the capabilities at home to do something and upload something that long.
Put it on YouTube then. I mean, it's just one.
That's a conversation for another. Yeah,
it's good for our show.
Yeah. That would be a really good 4-hour commercial for the show. But don't put it on as a birthday show. Just go, this is just a typical Monday. This is just what the guys do every other day.
Just complain. I said, and Bill was supposed to be here, but he didn't make it, so we apologize if this feels incomplete. Make it look like that's how our shows always go.
Right.
And we're just bummed out that this one's not quite as complete as the other ones. Today we have no guests, but that's just how it goes. Sometimes you get a year's worth of guests one day, and then the next day you just don't have any guests. It's okay.
Right. And that's the way it should be sometimes.
Sure, yeah. I think we're okay with that.
But I brought up the video because the guys were going through, all the footage and finding all the different moments of the piss cup and the best moments. There was like the moment where you first discovered you could do it. Then, I mean, once I knew you were doing it, because at no point in any interviews did you draw attention to the fact that you were pissing in a cup, because it wasn't like it was a bit. It was just a convenience.
It was a convenience, and I drink so much caffeine that there are days when I'm just like that. Like, I just get up and I piss. I piss a lot. And but that was it was a bad day. Yes, it was a bad day for it. A lot of tinkling.
And as every segment that happened after you first discovered you could do it, I'd be watching and I'd see you kind of really subtly, really professionally, and slowly just kind of go like, and as you're listening, just kind of grab for your cup, put it under your table.
Yeah.
just take a nice piss while you were talking.
You could see my arm movement too. Like, you couldn't see the cup even coming through. But you knew what I was doing. Once you knew where I kept my cup, you just knew what I was doing.
Yeah. It wasn't until you knew, then you would know. If you never knew to begin with, you would never pick up on it. But you were such a spy. Like, once you know, it's so clear the moment where you drank your urine by mistake. And it really does prove what a true comic you are, because the face that you make is not grossed out. It's not angry. It's like you have to stop yourself from laughing because you realize this is the funniest thing that could have happened. It's the first day. It took no time. And I immediately drank my piss by mistake.
Talking to Ozzy Osbourne, and I drank my piss. And I think he would enjoy that too. He would probably he would have appreciated that, and I'm sure Sharon would have got a kick out of it. Like, they wouldn't have been offended by that. I didn't want to distract because the Zoom connection was pretty good. We had little moments. Mm-hmm. Zoom is, again, it's not a perfect thing. We didn't have 10 years to ramp up for this fucking pandemic, but I think Zoom held up pretty well through most of it. Except Patton had a very tough connection for some reason. We couldn't talk to Patton. His connection was really rough. But what a great day! What a great day, and just great guests. Really, really fun.
It was a lot of fun. Did you do anything outside of the show to celebrate Jimmy Day in real life?
No, I mean, I've been very busy. Obviously, yesterday was an incredibly weird day. Incredibly weird. I wound up, for obvious reasons, and also because I wound up doing, I was just shooting chip stuff. Whether or not it will be needed, I don't know, but you always have to be prepared and have videos ready. So I've been doing that for the last few days, just maniacally shooting chip stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about with Chip and the TBS show, because we didn't get to talk about it at all yesterday.
Yeah, we were busy.
But I mean, you referenced what an incredibly weird day it was for you.
I found out from Anthony. I was getting ready to tape Unfiltered in the afternoon, and I get a text from Anthony telling me that it's so funny. The shooter of this judge in New Jersey and her son and her husband. I got people say, well, I think it was attached to the Epstein thing. And I was like, no, I don't think the Epstein thing has anything to do with it. And I was talking to one of the producers on Unfiltered right before we started. And this is how stupid I am. I'm like, this has nothing to do with Epstein. This is probably a lover of the kid. Like I said, I bet you that the son had some type of a lover who came, and there was a weird thing with them, and maybe the father wasn't. Because I'm like, why would he shoot the son? Or why would anyone shoot the son and the dad, not the mom? She's the judge. So I thought it had something to do with that. I couldn't have been wronger. And
but you do tend to sometimes write these unsolved mysteries like a kind of like a seedy romance novel.
Well, I do, yeah, and I figure that there was a betrayal, but I just didn't. I don't go with the it's Epstein. I just knew it wasn't that.
Right. And it wasn't.
Of course, it wasn't. It was Roy Den Hollander, the men's rights lawyer who sued me, and I haven't talked about this guy for over a decade. I have not spoken about him on the air since 2008. 12 years, because the day we had him on, we had the argument. He and I made fun of him. It started off okay. I was more aggressive in the interview than he was, about him suing Columbia's for women's studies and him suing for ladies' nights. And then he started to annoy me because he was just the guy who sues women. So we had like a.
It actually felt like it stopped working when you hit it. No.
Hold on. It wasn't working before because I can't hear it. It'll work, but it's just for some reason it's not going through my.
It's coming back now. It's back.
Is it back now?
Yep, it's back.
Okay, good. Yeah, I could feel it going. So we had him on, and he and I got into it, and it just got pretty nasty. And he called back and tried to get back on the show. Gary came to me and said, "That guy Roy who called back is trying to get back on the show, but he's kind of nuts." Like, we could sense that he was nutty. And so they wouldn't let him back on the show. And then he filed the lawsuit for $500,000 against me for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and all this stuff.
And when you say, by the way, that it, well, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but when you say that it got aggressive, it was all, I mean, that was kind of your style more back then, too. It was angry, funny Jim. Like, you were making absurd comments and stuff, but it was not like you were sitting there, waiting to come to blows with this guy or something.
No. And I even said to him at one point, we started teasing him, like, dude, he said, I'm a comedian who's not funny. And so I started doing jokes like, I'm a comedian who's not funny, knock, knock. And I actually got Roy to go, who's there? Like, at first he wouldn't say it, but then he finally went, I said, knock, knock. And he's like, who's there? And I think I said, like, I'm a lawyer that nobody wants to fuck, because we were teasing him about his whole thing with women and how he had gotten this Russian bride, and why did the chicken cross the road? Because Roy wanted to fuck it. Like, that was the big one, was when I implied that he wanted to fuck a chicken. And that got mentioned in the lawsuit. Like, I was holding him up to ridicule. And so we talked about it on the air once the lawsuit broke about a month later. Opie and Anthony talked about it. I referenced it a little bit. And he added to his claim. Like, he was nuts. And he went back and he added to the claim. So I said to myself, I'm not going to talk about this guy again, because every time you do, it's fodder for him to add to his claim. So I got an attorney, and his original filing we both thought was very nuts and seemed like the ramblings of a crazy person and wasn't good. And not to get too deep into the legality of it, but I believe if I would have done what they call a motion to dismiss, he could have just refiled it. But we wanted to kind of keep him trapped in the original crazy filing, like to keep that. He could have added to it, but we didn't want him to be able to. So we filed a motion for summary judgment, which was a much more expensive way to do it. But it was a way to keep him trapped in that crazy first filing he had put in, which I thought was nuts. And I said this so many times to people. I never said it on the air, so people are going to think I'm just making this up. But anybody who I told this story to in my personal life, I would say to people, this guy wants to kill me, but he can't kill me because, he just can't kill me. So he's doing this as a way to hurt me, as a way to punish me. But I remember he challenged me to a duel, which I thought was so nuts. During our argument, he referenced a duel a couple of times about going down to South America and having a duel with guns. He was just crazy. And at one point, the fans back there were so nuts, and the fans would really, we never asked the fans to do any of that shit. Like this is, to break the fourth wall. A lot of what you say on the air is exaggeration and nonsense. It's a part of what you do. And the fans will just kind of take moments and run with it. So after the initial filing, he got all this hate mail, and somebody actually sent him like a threatening letter or an envelope with white powder in it, he said. And he blamed me for that. So he added to the lawsuit and said that I had fans send him something with white powder in it, which was insanity. And at that point, I'm so naive. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I'm a dirty comic and I say mean shit on the radio. But I mean, I know how much of what we do is exaggeration and how much of what we do is a part of just being crazy on the radio and it's not real. So I wanted to meet him and just tell this guy face to face. Like, I would never have somebody send you fucking white powder. Like, this is insanity. So my lawyer arranged for he and I to sit down. So we met in my attorney's office. We had, he came in and he brought some other guy with him. And I think they were just kind of scrolling on a legal pad. And the whole thing seemed very bizarre. But it was Roy, myself, this other guy whose name I don't remember, and my attorney. And we sat down, and I think he thought that I wanted to settle. Roy thought that I wanted to settle, which I didn't. And I was like, dude, I just wanted to tell you man to man. I never asked anybody to send you white powder. Like, this was, it was, again, 2008. So a little closer to when all that stuff was happening with the anthrax being found. And that was the big threat. Yeah. And I told him I would never ask somebody to do that to you. Like, I mean, I made fun of you, but I mean, it's not something that would even occur to me to do. And I thought that would stop it because, again, I was being completely honest with him. And I think he said, all right, well, thank you for telling me that. Thank you for telling me that. And then the lawsuit continued. He was just, the thing that was scary about him is that he could just keep suing you because, again, he's an attorney, so he doesn't pay legal fees. So the day of court comes, I'm not there, and we're going to file, we want to sanction him because we think it's a frivolous lawsuit. So my attorney finds some decision that a federal judge has written about him where he used the word frivolous. So
and every step of this process is so expensive, by
extremely,
the way. Like, as long as this is going on.
Extremely expensive. He was in my life for 10 months.
God.
Yeah, this went on for almost a year. And I would get all kinds of crazy, like, interrogatories. Those are these questions you get in a summary judgment motion where one of the questions he asked was, do you have flour in your home? Like, meaning, and it's so funny. I saw, I have the entire original lawsuit. I think it's in storage. I never threw it out because my attorney's writing was so beautiful. I kept it. But I found, I was looking yesterday at a couple of emails because in his amended complaint, I saw all the emails that people sent to him. It was a part of the court filing. And one of them that the fan sent to him said, put a shotgun in your mouth, cunt. That was one of the things that one of the fans, which was getting totally disconnected. But I was like, Jesus, it's also weird how how things work out in the end. So my lawyer goes into court. We want him sanctioned for $10,000. And my legal bills at that time came to $140,000. It was extremely expensive. And we were going to sue Roy for that. So we wound up my lawyer goes into court, and he said that Roy filed some piece of a motion, which was terribly written. He was sloppy. And so the stuff starts getting read in court, and the other lawyers who are waiting for cases start laughing. They're laughing at some of the lines, the things that had been said, and the judge immediately shoots down Roy's motion. He goes, this is no good. No, you didn't do this right. And then the lawyers are laughing, and my lawyer goes, well, Your Honor, we can settle this, when he found out how much my legal bills were. Because I think he saw that this judge was not being very sympathetic towards him, and he was afraid anything can happen in court. He'll be on the hook for $140,000. So my attorney called me and said, hey, look, Roy wants to walk away from this. And I'm like, yeah, walk away, because I knew he was crazy. So Roy and I had to sign something which said that we released each other. which basically means that up until that point in moment, we forgive each other for anything that's happened in the past. So he could never resue. I think it was dismissed with prejudice. So I never talked about it on the air for 12 years or 11 years at that point, because I didn't want to give him anything new to refile a lawsuit on. Because people have this shit where they go, what's he going to do, sue you? Yeah. And it's very hard to recover legal fees. Like Greg Gutfeld talked about this on Fox yesterday, and I think he just made an honest mistake, because he and I were kind of going back texting a little bit. And he thought that Roy paid my legal bills, but Roy did not pay my legal bills. That was insurance took care of it. Eventually, there was insurance for that. Thank God. But he did not pay my legal bills, as crazy and frivolous as his lawsuit was. So whenever someone sues you, you got to pay for your own lawyer. So that was the lesson I learned from Roy Jan Hollander, was fucking make sure that you're always insured, because you have to pay for your own attorney. But yeah, that was kind of my saga with Roy. And that it was a long and extremely, by the way, this is when the economy collapsed. Remember the economy collapsed in 2008?
Yeah.
I bought a little bit of stock in Sirius, and I've always fucking hated that guy, because I would have bought a lot more stock in Sirius, but I was being sued at the time, and I got a legal bill one month in January for $41,000. My legal bill for January was 41 grand. It was crushing me. It was crushing me. It was something I couldn't even talk about it on the air, but it's one of the worst periods of my life, was dealing with this lawsuit from this fucking guy. And I was looking at his website yesterday, because for some reason I've been thinking of him. He's never really left my mind, because again, every time I re-up my insurance, I think of him, because he's the reason I'm so vigilant about having certain insurance. And I was looking at his website yesterday, and obviously after all this happened, and he filed a lawsuit in 2018. Such a dick, against this Australian publication for using his name without permission. Like, he liked to fucking sue people. He was a guy who just abused the system. He always demanded a jury trial, because once you have a jury trial, then you get into depositions, and that's when it gets really expensive. And that's probably when people want to settle, is the depositions get so fucking expensive. Like, just doing summary judgment, interrogatory questions got to be very expensive. Just going back and forth with my lawyer, answering these questions. So you never want to get into depositions before a jury trial, because that's when this crazy person can just start questioning all these people, and then I have to pay for my This was what a fucking bad guy he was. My attorneys at the time were they were great lawyers, like really fucking great lawyers. They were $700 an hour for I think the lead attorney. They felt so bad about the legal bills they were hitting me with that they retroactively lowered their fee to $400 an hour. They came in one day, I'll never forget this. One of the guys I believe has since passed away. He was a really lovely guy. And the one lawyer who became a friend, and I talked to yesterday, I've been friends with for 12 years now, said, we feel bad. This is not a good guy. He's not doing this. He's a shitty guy to do this. The way he's doing this is terrible. He's abusing the system. He's not a good person. So we feel bad that you're getting walloped so hard. So they retroactively lowered all their bills, and knocked a big piece of my
50%. Almost.
For some of the law, yeah, almost 50%.
2/3.
Yeah, and it still came to 140. And again, thank God for insurance covering certain things. So it didn't completely crush me, because first of all, I was making a lot less money 12 years ago. Again, we were back on the air for, I guess, 4 or 5 years at that point. So yeah, it was a saga that was really, and eventually he brought Opie and Anthony into the lawsuit. He eventually mentioned Opie and Anthony, but that was at the very, very end. And those guys never really got involved. He just put their names into it and amended the complaint, I think, again. But I believe the judge dismissed it with prejudice, which meant he couldn't refile. But I haven't talked about that for over a decade. I've never spoken about that publicly, just because I didn't want to give this crazy fuck reason to refile and say, hey, he's encouraging his fans to, which was nonsense. Of course, I wasn't. But yeah, that was kind of my saga with him.
When he settled, it was just, I'll walk away. You don't have to, I'm not suing you anymore, but I'm not paying for your legal bills. It was just, you're stuck with that, but you're not giving me any money type of thing.
Yeah, I gave him nothing. I did not, it wasn't even a settlement. It was an agreement to both walk away. It was basically an agreement to both just kind of go, we forgive each other for whatever happened, up until this moment. So he could never come back and re-sue me, because he had signed that release. We released each other from any harm that has occurred up until this moment. And again, it's back 12 years. I don't remember the exact thing. And the physical lawsuit is in storage. So I can't just grab it and look at it. But yeah, I was always afraid of giving him new. But he changed my life in a weird way, because it gave me such a different perspective on lawsuits and on legality and on lawyers and on what happens if somebody sues you, or if I was to sue somebody. Like it's a fucking nightmare. If you don't have the proper insurance, like you had better be ready. I'm very, very fortunate for insurance, because without it, that would have been crushing. So yeah, I always encourage people to get insurance, because you never know. Again, an attorney doesn't pay legal fees, so he could just do that all fucking day. The whole thing cost him like $200 or $400, and he walked away because he found out how much mine was, and he could tell the judge didn't care for him. And I think you know that. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in court, and the judge's clerk told my attorney, look, they don't like to offer sanctions in New York. They don't like to do that. So you're better off just taking this and going your separate ways. And we did.
It's just amazing, too, because I think you start to realize that what an interesting thing that you said was, what you're doing. You're exaggerating. You're
Sure.
on a radio show. And I'm sure that everything's changed now. But up until that point, there is this sort of thought in your head that there's almost this understanding. Whoever's on the radio with you, whoever you're talking about on the radio, they're all going to understand this game that we play.
Sure.
But then you get people like this who are just not understanding of that. They don't get that. They're not in your shoes. And just because they're a lawyer doesn't mean they're not nuts and aren't going to act ragefully and aren't going to act emotionally. And this wasn't about getting money off of you. This was about this guy doing whatever he could to ruin your life.
He wanted to hurt me, and because I had publicly humiliated him. And he was humiliated, and it was a really, and again, I've heard pieces of it since then. I never listen to old shit because I said it, so I don't want to hear it. I just don't go back and listen to stuff. Occasionally, I'll listen to some of the funnier clips, but this one was just like such a nightmare with this guy. And when I'll never forget this. I think I was in LA at the time, and I hadn't heard from Hollander in like a month or two. And so we're like, all right, I'm hoping that this is the end of this and we can just try to get this settled. And my lawyer sent me an email saying he's back. And that was a really bad month for fees. It was just more rambling fucking nonsense. And then how I had hurt him, and how it was crazy. He was a crazy fuck, man. It's not surprising to me surprising to me that he went this far and committed a murder. And they said the husband may have been the intended target, not the wife. And then there was some guy, I'm sure he knew, another men's rights attorney in California was murdered by somebody in a FedEx outfit. And they're wondering, was this him as well? But my guess is that it wasn't him. My guess is that he knew that guy and was trying to commit a murder the same way that guy was killed. My guess is he was almost trying to copycat it, so it took it off of him. But again, I could be totally wrong. I mean, I was so wrong about the reason. It's funny, CNN, I mean, the press is so awful. They were talking about, I was reading about him yesterday, and they were saying that he used white supremacist language because he was like saying, hey, white guys are always vilified. And I'm like, the guy was a lot of things, but he wasn't a racist. Like the fact that they're calling him a racist, it's like, no, he wasn't. Like, did they have to turn everything into that? Like,
well, conveniently,
he wasn't a racist.
Into the narrative of the time. It's like, we have to make him a villain in 2020.
Shooter, fucking assholes. And I'm not going to defend the guy because I hated him. But he was a nut, and he's a murderer. It looks like he was a murderer, but he wasn't a fucking racist. He just, but they have to make it that narrative to fit into the, like, look at how many villainous things. Like the fact that he shot these two people is enough. You don't have to add on to it because it fits the narrative, right? It's really repulsive.
So there's also thinking now, like the newest article that I saw was that he may have done this because he had a cancer diagnosis.
Cancer, yeah.
And so on his way out, he wanted to do this because he killed himself.
He did, yeah.
After he apparently killed these two people, he went to the judge's house in the FedEx uniform, and I guess the husband answered the door. And what did he killed the son and critically injured the husband, correct?
My guess is that, obviously, I don't know who answered the door, whether it was the husband or the son, but he just opened fire. I mean, that's my guess. And the son was probably a bigger, younger threat. So he probably just pumped bullets. I'm guessing he just pumped bullets into him to stop him from attacking and then tried to kill the father. I don't know exactly. Obviously, it'll all come out. But yeah, he had some terminal cancer diagnosis, and that was actually Hidden Lake Drive. I spent a lot of time there. That was my hometown. So I spent a lot of time on Hidden Lake Drive when I was a kid. A lot of my friends lived there, and on my birthday, it could have been such a great day if he just shot himself, because I really hated that guy. So if he had just shot himself, like, what a great day that would be. Unfortunately, but now it's really sad because this 20-year-old fucking guy and is dead, and this and they said that the judge didn't agree with some of what he said. He was suing for some gender discrimination, like a male-only draft. And in that case, he might even have been right. And the judge agreed with some of what he said, I think, and disagreed with some of what he said. But they said the husband may have been the target. But a shitty guy, a really shitty, seemingly mentally ill person who used the system. Very angry at having been fucked over by that Russian bride, and just used the system to try to punish people. And he wanted to go out in that blaze of glory. He wanted to go out. It seemed like he had a package for her, so he wrote something. So I'm sure the police, whatever it was, they had the information.
Yeah, they found a manifesto, too, that said, the only problem with a life lived too long under feminazi rule is that a man ends up with so many enemies he can't even the score with all of them.
Imagine being that upset all the time.
Yeah, and that's probably why cancer developed. They say like that anger and shit like that is bad for cancer. He just walked around with that bile all the time.
Yeah, I kind of always think when I see people like this, I kind of always think, like, 100% of the time think it's fake, because I go, how could anybody actually believe all this? How could anybody live their lives like obsessed with this idea that feminism and women and this isn't fair and men's rights? Like, I kind of figure that people like this just develop a gimmick to be a lawyer for it and figure out they can sue along these lines and people will hire them. I never actually believe that this is who they are as human beings. But for this guy, we're talking 12 years after being on the radio with you and arguing it. This is the life he's living. This is who he is. He's a maniac.
Yeah, just a real piece of shit, suing people randomly. Like for every little slight, just tying up the legal system with this fucking garbage. And I honestly think I don't know if we had pursued it, would we have gotten anything? I don't know. But the fact that my attorney found some federal judge's decision that had the word frivolous, I think the word frivolous was in the decision, but that I think might have made him nervous too. 'Cause that's a really weird words in the legal community, and having a judge say something was frivolous, even though it was federal and not state, which I think I began 12 years ago. But I think that made him nervous that a judge had said that about something he had done. So I think he was very nervous that he would have had to pay my legal fees.
Right. Okay. So that's the moment he realizes, oh, I might be on the hook for that. Let's just settle this and be done with it.
Yeah. Let's quit while we're ahead. He said that in the article too. I just wanted to quit while I was ahead.
While you're reading this story, and you said at the beginning of you telling your story that you had this weird, like, this guy wants to kill me but can't, and people were like, I don't know if it's that far. When you're reading that this is how this guy went out, are you like, oh my God, like,
no,
shit, if this...
I don't, I mean, I don't know how mad he was at me compared to her. Like, I humiliated him publicly. But it's funny that, like, I don't think he talks about our case on his website. I think he talks about every case but that one, because he puts all of his boring fucking briefs and legal filings. He was obsessed with being famous and obsessed with being noticed and being heard. He wanted to be heard. Again, that's, because he's putting all of his legal briefs, like, look what I've said. But I think that the one with me really embarrassed him because, again, the language in there, and when those lawyers laughed at him in court, I think that he didn't want that. He just wanted to walk away. I don't think he wanted people reading, why did the chicken cross the road because Roy wanted to fuck it, and all the way we goofed on him. I don't think he wanted all those quotes on his website. But no, I said that. I didn't say that to be dramatic. Like, I almost didn't want to say that today on the air because I know people are going to go like, oh, look at him tying himself. But I said that to everyone who I told the story to in my personal life. that this guy wanted to kill me, and just this was his way of getting revenge. And it was the whole duel thing. It was such a bizarre thing that he referenced more than once. And it was such a weird thing to say in the middle of what we were arguing about. And he was very oddly calm. You know, he was very calm, just a weird. So he was probably calm when he shot those people too. Just a psychotic, very, very weird guy. Just a miserable fuck. Cancer diagnosis and wants to kill some woman's son and her husband. Real piece of shit.
Miserable.
Yeah,
Jim. If it happened on air, how was it not again? How was it like a personal thing and not towards XM? If it happened on their airwaves,
because again, he's not. Yeah, and again, it was more that I think he wanted to punish me, like he wanted to get me and not XM. Like, you know what I mean? It was more of a personal thing, and as an attorney, I think he did that on purpose. I think, I think there's certain insurances he didn't realize that would take care of things, because insurance that's what insurance is for. So I think that he was targeting me personally because he was so angry at me personally. And to sue a corporation was, he probably felt like that wouldn't hurt me as much. That's my guess.
Isn't it so weird, those things that little moments that just end up following you around forever? Did you get a little nervous? I mean, your first time talking about this, did you get did your body react a little nervously just now?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow. Somewhere Roy is smelling that right now. That's how pungent that is. Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, like, I know you don't want to be dramatic, but I'm telling you right now, if the same situation had happened to me, this would freak me out, because anybody that's obsessed enough that they want to spend 10 months chasing you down and making it hurt and legally, if this is in him, if he's got this kind of rage, if it were me, I'd be glad that my thing with him didn't happen when he had a cancer diagnosis, because he's a crazy person. And that's the thing. You can't deal with crazy. Like, you can't have it in your life because you just never know how it's going to go. You end up having, a kind of a throwaway segment. I mean, I think it was a bad guest day. Like, it was just one of those, it was a filler segment where you'll have this guy on because his book is goofy.
No, I had asked for him. I requested Roy as an interview because I read that he was suing this Columbia University for women's studies. And I said, because I hate the colleges so much. Back to this is, and I'm like, any type of any type of gender-based thing or racially based thing is by its nature somewhat exclusionary. So I it was more like, how come it's okay to do this way and not do that way? So I kind of was like, hey, maybe he has a point. But 10 minutes into it, I realized, he's just the guy who sues women. Like, and I told him, I think I called him a special interest parody. Like, he's the guy who just he doesn't like women, and then it annoyed me. That was like, this is not what I'm not here to fucking co-sign the guy. I thought it was like an ideological thing. Like, he just didn't like anything that wasn't the same both ways, which I kind of agree with. But of course, it wasn't that.
Did you change the way you acted on the air after that, realizing, like, I don't know who is going to be the person crazy enough to pursue this like this? Obviously, you didn't see it coming with this guy, but, the people that you end up with arguments on the air, those are the ones that could end up being nuts, right? I mean, that's why they're so emotional. Did it change the way you go, like, you know what, maybe I can't attack people on this level if I don't know they're not litigious lunatics?
Yeah, it plays into your mind. But again, I wound up getting, I with insurance, and Sam, you and I have just talked about this in general as friends. Like, you always, everybody in entertainment should pardon me, I almost brought my glasses, should have some type of thing that covers you. So it's, again, and I've again credited him for this 100 times in my personal life. He changed my life in the way I saw things, because I realized if this happened with such a fucking frivolous thing, with such nonsense, with obviously such what they call, I think, rhetorical hyperbole, with such garbage bullshit, then it could happen with something that was. And Anthony one time had dumped out of me saying something. Again, people always think they can say what they want publicly. Like, doing what we do for a living, you really learn what you can say and what is defamation and what is not. And and again, what I said about Roy was not, because again, I was making fun of him, and it was none of it was based in fact. It was all based in, I wasn't accusing him of anything real. He fucked a chicken. No reasonable person could think that I honestly meant that he fucked a chicken.
that he's mad at women. He's mad at women because they won't have sex with him, and he's left to just have sex with barnyard animals.
Yeah, nobody. And I remember they said it was a foul thing in the paper. FOWL was a foul suit. But it was like stuff like that. Like, but if I had said something about him, like I had said something about a senator's wife, just some offhanded comment, joking, she's a whore, whatever. And Anthony dumped it. And he goes, dude, you can't. Because again, when you say something like that publicly, that is possible. Like, it's really weird what you can get sued for and what you can't. Or you can get sued for anything, but what might have merit and what might not. So, what I said about him wouldn't, because it was such nonsense. The fact that you're joking doesn't always matter, but the fact that it was no reasonable person could think that I meant that. But if I had said something about him that, like, weird words like liar, if I had said he's a liar, or if there's a doctor and if you ever publicly say about a doctor, he's a quack, that is really bad in litigation, because for some reason that is known to mean that the doctor's a fraud. That could get you in trouble. Like weird fucking things like that. Like, whatever. I'm babbling. I apologize, but I mean it changed my life in a way of, it changed my way of thinking. So no, it didn't change me attacking people and making fun of people, because I was still a douchebag for the next X amount of years. But it changed little certain wording, and again, I strengthened my insurance, and I went and I got this umbrella stuff. It's a whole fucking process. I pay for it every year. It's expensive. It sucks. It sucks.
It's called bestiality insurance. I get insurance so I can tell lawyers that they fuck chickens.
That they fuck chickens, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could find some of these emails. I'm trying to look for them as we're talking, because there were some of them were really, again, the fans were just, because he had a public email address on his website. And the fans went crazy with that. And were really, and I never would have seen this stuff because they weren't copying me on it. They were just sending it to him, but he put them all in the record, in the public record by entering these in the lawsuit. Just really, nuts, really fucking nuts.
Penn Jillette's talked about that thing though, about the wording that you use, like when Penn Jillette is trying to disprove psychics and people like that, you can't call them, you can't say that they're lying, or they're right. You can't call them liars or frauds. Yeah.
Yes.
You can't say that. You just have to demonstrate. I don't think that this example. That's what the Amazing Randy used to do and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
I don't think this is. This example is not convincing me or whatever. But you have to be very careful, not to say certain words. And I read sometimes like what people say, like James Woods sued a guy for saying cocaine addict James Woods. And at first it got tossed, but then all of a sudden another judge said, no, that's actually legit, because in our language it's known that if you say cocaine addict, putting something before someone's name as a title is known as being, whether or not he would have won, I don't know. The guy committed suicide, or one of the guys committed suicide, who was suing him. So he was suing. So it's really weird what the way you phrase shit. So people wonder sometimes why you speak carefully on the air, and you're never going to be 100%, but you really fucking learn how to do it. And I love when people think that they're lawyers and they'll say something and they'll say certain words. I'm like, I know that guy thinks that he's just saying that to cover his bases, but he could still get.
It doesn't.
No.
Yeah. That doesn't work.
No, dummy. No. Yeah. I spent hours talking to my attorney years ago. He was a brilliant guy about this, because this is what he did. So he would, we spent a lot of time going over what is defamatory, what is not, what is, a lot.
Wow. Yeah, it definitely changed. Watching it happen was definitely a lesson for me. I remember even at the time, because behind the scenes, I think all of us knew how much this was weighing on you and how it wouldn't go away and what a stressor it was. And we were also all aware of what it came from and how sort of nothing typical everyday, as ridiculous as it sounds, this was a typical everyday thing that happened. This was the type of thing that would happen on the air. And it was funny and it was great, but you wouldn't even really think about it the next day. It was said and it was over and it was just a bit that you did today and you keep on moving. But the idea that something like that could haunt you financially and just in your life in the way that it did, I think was a wake-up call. I know it was a wake-up call to me, but I think it was a wake-up call to all of us that were watching it happen.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm looking at a couple of the interrogatories, the questions or whatever, and he's listing all of the people. Do you keep flour in your home? If so, what brand? If you've been to Florida since September of 2008, please identify when and where. Identify any friends or associates who resided in West Palm Beach, Florida in October of 2008. Briefly, what is your opinion of affirmative action? And these are all things that my attorney would have to answer. So it adds up for you because, your attorney you're paying your attorney hundreds of dollars an hour and he has to deal with this shit. And I have to pay for him to deal with this shit. So that's where it gets to become really repulsive.
Yeah. I mean, it's nuts.
Yep. It is crazy.
Yeah. Who would have, do you think he had any idea that in the articles that came out about him, because I haven't heard his name in forever. I just hadn't, it's just one of those names. But as soon as his name popped up, I don't think he would be thrilled to know that in the article that is about the way he ended his life, you're right there. It went right back to this was a big part of his life too.
Yeah. And again, it went on for a while. It went on for almost a year. Mm-hmm. It went on for 10 months. So no, I don't think he'd be thrilled with that. For some reason, he never spoke about this again either, I don't think, publicly. He did one interview with the Daily News, whatever, but that was the end of it for him. This is one he just kind of walked away from. And again, I think it's because he was embarrassed about the things that were said in the interview that were now on the record. It's all public record. Right. That he's a chicken fucker or, knock, knock. And I actually made him say, who's there? At first he wouldn't say it. And he's like, who's there? He didn't want to say who's there. Just really a fucking shitty guy, man. So yeah, I'm sure that this is one he wasn't happy with because he didn't seem smart in it. In the other ones, I think he thinks that he seems really smart, but you can't take away the on-air commentary if you highlight this lawsuit. It's all right there. So I think this is one he just kind of preferred to forget about.
As much as you feel bad for the judge, for the husband, for the kid, it's just a tragic thing that happened. It's just completely unfair. Is there somewhat relief knowing that this person is not on the planet anymore for you?
Relief in the sense of, I thought of him a lot over the year. I really did. And again, I would occasionally go back and look over that lawsuit. And I thought of him recently for some reason. I Googled him probably in the last 2 months. And because I would do that from time to time. Just what the hell is Roy Den Hollander doing? Is he, any more new annoying cases? Just again, when you have that interaction with somebody, and again, they're kind of a well-known guy or a public figure, you kind of keep tabs. I'm sure he did the same. It's just part of what you do. But no, I don't feel any really. I'm glad he's dead. I think he was a bad guy. I don't think he was a good person. I think that the fact that he would use the system like this and try to hurt people, and was so obsessed. I don't care about him at all. But I feel very bad for that. Obviously, there's a 20-year-old kid who got shot behind this obsessed asshole and his agenda. All I think stemming. I think he had said bad shit about his own mother too, so he probably had these mommy issues and whatever. And just look, I didn't know him aside from my interaction, but he seemed very, very mentally ill to me. Anybody who's that obsessed with vengeance and willing to go to that point, I think has some form of real mental illness and narcissism. And putting this shit on his website is what tells me that there's some kind of narcissism there. Just the desperation to be heard, the desperation to, if they only could fucking hear what I'm saying. And it's like, we hear you. You've been heard. That's what so much of the anger people have towards each other is. It's this fucking obsession with wanting to be heard, with wanting to be understood. And it's like a lot of times we don't like to admit that people have heard you. They just don't agree with you. They have heard you. They don't like what you were saying. So, it's a really weird thing for me because, again, I hated this guy's guts. I don't know if I'm glad he's dead. because again, I wasn't that worried about him coming back. But I still to this day wouldn't have referenced him on the air because again, I would not because I would say anything defamatory, but because you don't want to give him a reason to refile because he doesn't pay legal fees. Even though at this point the insurance is much different than I had back then and much more complete.
I mean, just to be in your life at all. I mean, this guy haunted you like a ghost for 10 months plus. Yeah. I mean, even after it was all over, just you trying to get your life back on track, trying to make everything right with everybody that was involved, financially, trying to get to a place where everything was cool again. Like that's all him. Like that's him lingering over you this whole time. So, I mean, I get wanting this ominous presence out of your life.
Just gone. Just gone.
Yeah.
But he was gone. I mean, again, and he never came back. I mean, he never, and I mean, not in any way that I was ever aware of. I don't believe he ever came back at all. It was just done. I think it was just done for both of us. But, it does linger there. It's something that you always carry with you because it was such a fucking shitty experience. But there was always a part of me a little bit grateful for it because it taught me something about the naivete I had at the system, which is people always, what's he going to do, sue me? Yeah, stupid. People can just sue you. It doesn't mean that they're going to win, but people can just sue. So I love when I read that or hear that. People have like all these dopes who have sat there with their friends and they think they understand what you can be sued for and what you can't. It taught me a tremendously shitty lesson.
I get why you're checking up on him too. Why you're just kind of keeping tabs, just kind of interested. It's the same way
curiosity.
Now that we have the internet, you look up your ex-girlfriends, not because you're thinking about them, you're obsessed with them. I wonder what she's doing. She was in my life. I wonder what she's doing. I wonder what he's doing. Yeah.
Just wondering. And again, it was never anything like I was never afraid of him coming back at me because I had never said anything about him and I knew he had signed that document. So there was nothing he could do. It was more curiosity. What's this guy doing? There was really not even, so saying I'm kind of glad he's dead. I guess now that it's happened, but if I had a choice in that moment, would I make him dead if I could? Yeah, I probably wouldn't have. I mean, I just hated him in the moment. But there was a part of me after it that was oddly grateful for the experience because it changed the way I saw certain things. I actually at one point wanted to write a book about it. And I remember thinking, I'm going to ask Roy to write the foreword to this book. Because it was such a fascinating time. In that moment, 6 months after it happened, it was still such a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
I ultimately obviously didn't because, again, I didn't think it would be funny enough. And I didn't want to open that can of worms. And he probably never would have done it because it would have made him look stupid. But it was so interesting to me to see how the system worked and all this stuff that goes on behind closed doors with lawyers. But I remember thinking, I'm going to ask Roy to write the forward to this book. And I never reached out to him, though. Because, again, I didn't want to spark any type of harassment lawsuit.
Why Did the Chicken Cross the Road would have been a great title for it.
You know what? It would have been awesome, yeah. But, yeah, and, of course, he shoots himself. But they said he wanted to punish people, maybe.
Yeah.
He had, so maybe he did kill that other attorney. I don't know. But part of me thinks that he was just copycatting the way that guy was dressed who killed that men's rights attorney in California.
We have some people that are calling in that have very important questions on the matter that I thought we would take. Let's start with line 4. Tom has a question for Jim Norton here on Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. What's up, Tom?
Hello, how you doing?
Hey.
Jim, I was wondering if you used Salino and Barnes as your attorney.
I did, but I didn't know which one to go with. So I just went with the jingle. I really, yeah. Have you been injured in a lawsuit? Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, you used that, and then when you were trying to get legal fees back, you were actually calling up J.G. Wentworth, trying to see if you could get your money first, because it's your cash and you want it now.
Sure. It's my cash and I wanted it now. Yeah, no, both. Every man pays for himself, except under extreme circumstances. So, man, it is a nightmare to be bogged down in litigation without the proper. Again, I keep saying insurance, but I stress that in my personal life, it's really important.
Saved your life.
Yes,
Nick.
It did.
Yeah. Nick in Maryland. What's going on, Nick?
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
So, Jim, since quarantine started, I've been going through and kind of like binging old Tough Crowds on YouTube. And it's interesting to look at you then and now and see kind of the evolution of like your language. Is there stuff that you look back on that show and think like, man, I really dodged a bullet on saying that on TV and not getting in trouble?
No, I mean, in a way, but we were all saying that. I mean, I've said offensive things for 30 fucking years. It's what I've done my entire career. I mean, that's, so no, because that's kind of what the show was. You know what I mean? Like looking back on, there was a lot of things that they would give us notes on, but they had the option to not air it. So no, I was never like looking back worried about it because they made a decision to air something. And that's what people forget when they're going after all of these comedians for shit that comedians have said, or Jimmy Fallon wore blackface. It's like you're forgetting that back then, that was 2000 or 2003 or 2005, whatever it was. Network executives were still fucking frightened rabbits. Network executives weren't these cavalier maniacs riding off into the sunset. They were paranoid. Political correctness was in effect. They were babies, and they would say no to a lot of stuff. So the corridor was just wider that you could joke about. So when you see things that went through 20 years ago that would never go through today, you were still dealing with paranoid network executives, but you just couldn't go any steps beyond what you were seeing. Like, so back then that was within the realm of like what was kind of considered, hey, I don't know if you should say that, but it wasn't so outrageous or they wouldn't have aired it because they were just as paranoid back then as they are now.
Well, it is interesting watching them, though, because between you and Patrice and Geraldo and guys like that, you guys were having conversations 20 years ago that we're seemingly just starting to have now. And it's one of those things, like, you wish that show could have been on for a longer period of time because I think you guys were talking about stuff that we weren't ready to talk about then, but now we're having conversations about it.
Well, we saw it, I mean, again, and so did a lot of other people. I don't think that we were unique. I mean, it was just the fact that Colin wanted to do a show like that. And these were conversations that we had at the Comedy Cellar that he just wanted to have on television. And he wouldn't edit out bombs or any of that stuff. So it felt natural. Sometimes it got very aggressive, but it was honest. I mean, sometimes we were right and sometimes we were wrong. But yeah, we said some mean stuff. We said mean stuff to each other. You were basically watching friends bash each other and talk about whatever was happening in the world at the time. And that's kind of what our live was like at the Comedy Cellar. So yeah, but you know what's funny? Nothing has changed. And that's how I talk about it less now than I did then because I'm so fucking bored with the discussion about cancel culture and all this fucking shit. And it's never gonna change. I had nothing to do with making this world the way it is as far as that's concerned. I accept zero responsibility for being the hypersensitivity that's going on. That's all people who are engaging in it. We've discussed it endlessly and nothing has changed. Obama said it perfectly with the search for purity. Nothing changed. Chappelle said it beautifully in his special. The joke about, I'm going to punish you and find out what, you know who that is? That's you. You know that joke Dave did? That was beautifully said. Yeah. Nothing fucking changed. So it's never going to change no matter how eloquently anybody says it.
Sorry, really quickly while I'm on the phone, though, just wanted to say that I would love to see more of Anthony Cumia doing Voss Dice on the Chip Chipperson show. I think I laughed for 45 minutes uncontrollably. I know that it happens at 46 minutes of that episode because I've gone back and watched it so many times. Keep up the great work, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll mention that to Anthony again. We texted briefly yesterday. It's funny. Yeah, I will see if he'll do more Voss Dice. I don't even remember the bit, but I mean, yeah, but it's obviously just hearing that makes me laugh.
Yeah, but the requests are coming in for it now.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they'll want more of it. Yeah.
Let's go to Ray in Georgia on line 1. What's up, Ray?
Guys, you think maybe he realized he lost the lawsuit to Chip Chipperson and that sent him over the edge?
You know, thank God it wasn't Chip. Chip wouldn't have stopped. Chip would have gotten me sued over and over. Fucking Hollander, what's he from Amsterdam? Believe me, Chip would have had one shit joke after another. So yeah, maybe he did see Chip on TBS. And he's like, "This is the asshole that made me walk away. This is the guy I couldn't beat." Yeah, good point, sir.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, wow. So weird that I guess this is the bow that gets put on that story in your life, right?
I'm happy he's gone. I'll say that. I mean, in the sense that I didn't think he would necessarily come back after me, but I hated not being able to talk about it at all for 10 years because it was a very big part of my life. Not that there was so much to say either, but there were so many times where the idea of litigation or lawsuits would come up, and I would have to landmine walk through this just because he was such a vindictive guy. He was a vindictive person. And I knew that when I was dealing with him. So the fact that I know that anybody who thought there was an Epstein tie-in or that this guy was not really the guy who did it, and I dealt with him. He was a vindictive motherfucker. And looking at the legal paperwork and the way he just, like, there were some things he would handwrite on filings before he would submit them. You could tell he was obsessed with litigation and getting things done. So it's not surprising to me that a guy who finds out he has terminal cancer and metastasized cancer wants to exact revenge because he won't be able to have that moment of glory that he's looking for. He's not going to have that moment where everybody's like, we understand, Roy, you're right. And you know what I mean? There's that moment we all want where people go, I've heard you and you're right. Thank you for making me understand it the way you meant it to be under. He, I think, realized he was never going to have that moment and just said, fuck it, I'm going to take out, maybe it was just this one person, or maybe he didn't plan on killing himself. I don't know.
Yeah. He wants to go out in a blaze of glory. So he just thinks finally this will be the moment that he's been waiting for. This will be the big, swan song, as it were.
Yeah, you wonder if he was on pain meds that fucked up his judgment too. Like, was he on anything that made him go? Because I think he was nuts, crazy.
Yeah.
But you wonder, like, when you're on heavy medication for pain, if you have terminal cancer, does it just change everything? So I guess he did have a gun. I mean, obviously, challenging me to a duel, he must have had a pistol. It was just such a fucking weird thing to be challenged. A duel. And he mentioned going to Peru. I think it was Peru. Or going to another country. It was just such a weird specific.
Like he'd done the research. Where can we duel? Where can people duel?
Bizarre. And you knew there was real underlying anger. It might have been Anthony. I don't remember how we found out that he had a Russian bride who fucked him over. But it was after he called back. We got rid of him. He had another call. We were making fun of him. And he wound up calling back. And that was how it got really nasty at the end, or funny. I mean, we were really teasing him. Yeah. But I wanted to have him back on. I think he wanted to come in studio. And I think our boss said no.
Thank God he didn't.
Nah, you know what? In that moment, I didn't think he would. A part of me always wished he had, because it might have gotten settled there. Like, we had a knack when people were in studio. It might have gotten ugly and horrendous. Or it might have been where we just had fun with. You never know how that would have went. It might have gone where we just made fun of him, or you don't know.
Yeah,
you don't know. But it might have gone terribly wrong, and he might have just sued me worse. So who knows?
Yeah. You really do never know. Sometimes it goes really great. Remember we had
Whoopi?
Whoopi went really great. But I was gonna say, remember we had the kid in who was like suing. I think it was the New York Giants. And he brought his lawyer in, and his lawyer was like maybe one of my favorite characters. And he only did, I think he was on like twice on the old Opie and Anthony show.
Yeah, what's your name? What do you do, character? What do you do for a living, character?
He was just incredible. I could have listened to that guy all day, every day. He was one of my favorite people. Yeah. What do you do for a living, character?
Yeah, what do you do for a living, character?
What's your name, character? Like, can you imagine being in a courtroom against a guy like that?
He was the best. He finally stopped because he got shit from his firm or whatever calling it. We loved that guy. We loved him. Yeah, what do you do for a living, character? He was great. That guy was great. Yeah.
I see guys like that, and I'm like, man, being a lawyer seems fun. If you don't have to do all the paperwork and all the reading and know all the laws, and you just get to do the arguing part, it seems fun. Everything else seems miserable, but that arguing part seems like it's a blast. What do you do for a living, character?
What do you do for a living, character?
What's your name, character? It's great. Well, yeah, I was very surprised. I texted you yesterday because I was very surprised to to hear that name again and to watch it come up and then to see your name in the article that was talking about everything that was going on. I was like, man, you just never know what's going to follow you. Such a weird thing.
It's all part of the public record. It's nothing that was secretive. It was just,
right.
And I didn't talk about him for years, not because I was afraid I was going to say anything that was, oh no, I might say something fucked up. But when a guy is coming after you, you don't want to give them one more thing just to say. It's almost like in an argument. When the argument's done, anything you say, the person can just write down and say, oh, they said this. So that was why I didn't. If that happened at this point in my life, I would have pursued the legal fees. Whether or not I would have gotten them, I don't know. But I would have pursued. I wouldn't have walked away in the way I did. I would have pursued having him sanctioned, and whether or not I would have won, I don't know. But I was never prohibited. I was never prohibited from speaking about him. I just chose not to because I didn't want to give him new fodder.
And who knows? He wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. He's feeling a little extra nutty one day, and he decides like, oh, what's that? He said my name. I didn't give him permission. I mean, he literally sued another place for saying his name without permission. So, this isn't a person who is afraid of getting lawyerly.
Right. Yeah.
We should take a break because you're out of cups, and I worry about you.
Yeah, me too.
But I did. Now, Travis, are we putting out, what is the plan? I saw that we publicly put out the video of Jim announcing that he had pissed in the cup. That was the first. We put that out yesterday while the show was on. The guys were just like, let's get this out. This needs to come out immediately.
Yeah.
Do we know what the plan is for putting video out all together from yesterday's show, both publicly and on the app?
So right now on the app, we've got the full Joe Rogan interview. We've got the full Ricky Gervais interview. We've got clips from both of those, shorter clips. And I think in just a moment, we're going to tweet out the clip of Jim peeing during the Ricky Gervais interview. So you can really see how long Jim pees.
Yeah.
He sure takes his time.
I do. I enjoy a good pee.
You watched it. You watched it, Travis. You saw it. You analyzed it.
Oh yeah. I sent it to you last night. Oh yeah. It's a long clip. And it's so funny because you could see the motion of him pulling his pants down, and now that's what he was doing. And
right. I didn't notice
the
it.
Cup.
Yeah, it's one of those. I didn't notice it at all as it was happening. No, who would have thought? Who would have thought?
But now that you know what happened, everything makes sense. It's like when you go back and watch a movie, and you're like, oh, that's what they were doing.
Yes, he was dead the whole time. The red doorknob. I got it. I understand.
Right. Yeah, I'm sitting there watching Jim's piss thing, trying to figure out if the top stopped spinning or not. What part was a dream?
So yeah, we'll tweet that out right now. In the break, we'll tweet it out.
Okay, so we'll tweet that out, and we will talk about putting some of the longer form stuff up on the YouTube channel, because I was getting hit up by a lot of international fans that want to see, especially, how many interviews does Rogan do, right? That seems like that should definitely be up.
Well, he does a bunch on his podcast every week.
No. I think he meant outside of. I think he meant outside of his own show, but that was a very salient point, Jeff.
It's very good. I'm glad you brought that up. Well, we have a lot to do today.
You said nothing.
I didn't get. No, okay, you're right. I didn't. Yesterday, I didn't get to talk about the road trip to Indiana that I took over the weekend. I spent 24 hours in Indiana and got to get a pulse. I got my finger on the pulse of what's going on in this nation.
Good.
Going state to state, so I got that. And, we have got to talk about the progress of Chip Chipperson in the Tournament of Laughs. Voting is closed, but I've got my thoughts, and it's positive. It's positive for Chip. I think it is. We'll get to all that and a lot more.
Yes.
Stick around. Yeah.
It's Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. Social distancing. We'll be right back. During these uncertain times, Faction Talk is here to keep you company. Jim Norton and Sam Roberts are live every morning.
Yeah, but perception doesn't make you fart more.
Sure it does.
Followed by Cavino and Rich.
How do I deal with you every day? I don't know.
Bennington.
I don't know who's worse with bad news, you or Gail, but both of you are like doing the show with Debbie Downers.
Jason Ellis live from Los Angeles.
My microphone is heavy. I think I would rather like one of those gold ones that Khloe Kardashian talks into.
Listen live or on demand with the SiriusXM app or smart devices like Amazon Alexa. Royalty reigns with limited edition SiriusXM channels from Prince, Queen, and the King of Pop, Michael Jackson. Explore these channels and more now through August 13th on the SiriusXM app. For more information, go to SiriusXM.com/new channels.
Do you check your Google search results regularly? You should. People often get their first impression of you or your business online. Negative comments on the internet can impact your life and your livelihood. Take control of your online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. It may reveal negative posts from an ex-employee, upset patient or client, news article, legal issue, or even exposed personal information right there in your Google search results. Uncover what's lurking on the internet about you with reputationdefender.com's patented scan and get your free reputation report card. Or for immediate assistance with your reputation, call 800-981-9332. Our cutting-edge technology helps make your Google search results look their best. Call 800-981-9332. That's 800-981-9332. 800-981-9332. Or take the free scan at reputationdefender.com.
Bill O'Reilly here for Home Title Lock. When life is in chaos, your home is your safe haven, your most valuable asset. Imagine losing your home to an online scammer. In an instant, you have no place to live and your home, your security, no longer yours. The crime is called home title theft. It happened to a friend of mine. It's one of the fastest growing crimes in the country, which is why you need Home Title Lock. The title to your home is online, where thieves can find it and forge your signature on a quitclaim deed. It then appears you sold your home. They can borrow against the house and leave you with payments. Your bank and insurance will not cover you, but you can avoid this nightmare with Home Title Lock. Please go to HometitleLock.com, register your address to see if you're already a victim, and use code RADIO for 30 free days of protection to help you through the crisis. That's code RADIO at HometitleLock.com.
Your dog's health is too important to feed some highly processed burnt brown kibble. Make the switch to the Farmer's Dog. It's real food made fresh and delivered right to your door. The Farmer's Dog is made from fresh meat and vegetables, gently steamed to ensure only nutrient-rich whole foods end up in your dog's bowl. No high heat processing, no preservatives to keep it shelf stable for years. Just real, fresh food. The Farmer's Dog worked with top vets to create complete and balanced recipes, so you know your dog is getting the nutrition needed to thrive. And it's pre-portioned just for them, so you don't have to worry about under or overfeeding. The Farmer's Dog makes it simple to give your dog a truly healthy diet. Start today by going to thefarmersdog.com/faction, and you'll save 50% on your first box and get free shipping. That's thefarmersdog.com/faction for 50% off your first box with free shipping. Thefarmersdog.com/faction.
Talking about your rotten erectile dysfunction isn't easy. Usually we just brush it off. We blame ourselves, saying things like, I lost my mojo, or we avoid it altogether with excuses like, I had a long day at work, or I'm just not feeling it. With Roman, easy to talk about it with a real doctor who can prescribe real medication. It's simple, safe, totally discreet. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from the comfort and privacy of your own home. The doctor will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, Roman will ship it to you with free 2-day shipping. Whole process is straightforward and discreet. Getting started is simple. Just go to GetRoman.com/Teft and complete an online visit. Erectile dysfunction used to be tough to tackle, but now there's Roman. Complete an online visit today to connect with a doctor and take care of it. Go to GetRoman.com/Teft today. If approved, you'll get $15 off your first order of erectile dysfunction treatment. That's amazing. GetRoman.com/Teft.
This is Howie Mandel. The Just for Laughs Virtual Comedy Festival is now on Sirius XM. Every day this week, Sirius XM's comedy channels are your destination for the very best Just for Laughs stand-up in the past 35 years.
These guys are out of their minds!
Groundbreaking performances from Kevin Hart, Amy Schumer, Bill Burr, and so many more.
I surround myself with a collection of uglies, so I pop, you know.
The Just for Laughs Virtual Comedy Festival all week long on Sirius XM comedy channels.
Dan Mancini here from Mama Mancini's with some exciting news. We are now offering Mama Mancini's delicious plant-based meatballs made with Beyond Meat. Mama Mancini's meatballs are made with the same recipes my grandmother used. No artificially produced ingredients, from our hearts, and 100% delicious. For a quick and satisfying meal, head to your local supermarket or club store and look for Mama Mancini's meatballs, including our new delicious plant-based meatballs made with Beyond Meat.
Mama Mancini's, the meatball lovers meatball.
What if you could pay for tolls with your phone and breeze through electronic lanes without having to exchange cash? Introducing PayTolo, a cashless payment app for toll roads. Simply download the app, register your vehicle, activate your account, and drive. Manage your transactions right from your phone with no extra parts required. Use discount code SiriusXM for $5 in toll credits when you sign up at paytolo.com/SXM. Availability varies by state. Check to see if your state's covered. Check out paytolo.com/SXM to learn more.
Your dog's health is too important to feed some highly processed burnt brown kibble. Make the switch to the Farmer's Dog. It's real food made fresh and delivered right to your door. The Farmer's Dog is made from fresh meat and vegetables, gently steamed to ensure only nutrient-rich whole foods end up in your dog's bowl. No high heat processing, no preservatives to keep it shelf stable for years. Just real, fresh food. The Farmer's Dog worked with top vets to create complete and balanced recipes, so you know your dog is getting the nutrition needed to thrive. And it's pre-portioned just for them, so you don't have to worry about under or overfeeding. The Farmer's Dog makes it simple to give your dog a truly healthy diet. Start today by going to thefarmersdog.com/faction, and you'll save 50% on your first box and get free shipping. That's thefarmersdog.com/faction for 50% off your first box with free shipping. Thefarmersdog.com/faction.
This is not an offering to sell a franchise. Franchise offerings are made through the franchise disclosure document. Ask for details. Do you have a high-stress corporate job? Are you tired of working for other people? Do you want to invest in a business that makes a positive impact in your community? Express Employment Professionals is looking for franchise owners in your area to transform people's lives. With an Express franchise, you are a hands-on leader and relationship builder in a recession-resilient industry. It's a great way to benefit your community by helping people find jobs and helping local companies find employees. As Entrepreneur Magazine's #1 staffing franchise for 9 years running, we average $6 million in annual sales and have a proven track record of helping franchise owners create businesses that thrive. You'll get all the training and ongoing support you need from industry experts. Now is the time to own an Express staffing franchise. To find out more, go to expressfranchising.com. That's expressfranchising.com. expressfranchising.com.
All right. Dish. We love Dish. People are calling Dish's new service technicians are considered the good news guys. They install Dish in people's homes. Then comes all the good news. The Hopper from Dish is TV's most powerful DVR. It'll hold up to 2,000 hours of TV greatness. You're going to be able to store a little bit in your home renovation show to being able to store a lot of your home renovation show and your cooking show, your cop show, your doctor show, and even the show you won't admit to watching. Dish's Hopper holds a ridiculous amount of TV, and that's some seriously great news. Whatever your passion, record up to 2,000 hours. Just another reason Dish is ranked #1 in customer satisfaction by J.D. Power. Dish, tuned into you. Recording hours vary. 2,000 hours is based on SD programming. For J.D. Power 2019 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To learn more, dial 1-844-CALL-DISH, visit dish.com, or find a local retailer near you.
Broadcasting live from quarantine, we are We're back with Jim Norton and Sam Roberts Show.
Sean Paul singing his cameos, singing his hits in his cameos.
The amount of effort he put into it. He sounds great.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Welcome back, Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
Yes. How old is this song? I love Sean Paul, but I don't really know this one.
Got to be 10 years.
Oh, it is that old.
5 to 10 years old?
Yeah. I'm sure I've heard it then. I just...
Yeah, this wasn't in the Dutty Rock era.
Right.
This is the second wave. This is the second wave of Sean Paul greatness. Now, Troy, you acquired the Sean Paul cameo, yes?
Yeah.
You're the cameo professional on the show. We trust you after we come up with the list to acquire said cameos.
Yes.
Actually, this is a great story. I'm sure you were happy with the Sean Paul cameo, but as a show, we were in a bit of a panic because we had Sean Paul. The Chip Chipperson cameo was very easy to acquire. I don't know if you know this, but Chip Chipperson, very quick with his cameo responses. So we were very happy with that. And we did all have to get together. Mike Montone did most of the writing, but we all had to contribute to make sure that there was just enough written that we would know when we heard it back, but not enough that Chip would realize. So when Chip in his cameo said, you sure this isn't Norton? I was like, it is Norton.
And we had to do it far enough in advance. Remember? Because we were concerned that if it was too close to the birthday, Jim would recognize what's going on.
Yep. So we did it like 2-3 weeks in advance. Yeah. But we almost were missing one. And Troy had to use his charm. Troy had to go into his gigolo handbook, I believe, and use some of his gigolo charm from his previous profession to get this done. But he got it done. And that was the Darcy cameo. The Darcy cameo,
by the way, was so sexy. Fuck, was she sexy?
Well, it almost didn't happen, but somebody maybe had to slide into her DMs and push her along.
Yeah, well, I put the order in for it, and then it had a 5 to 7 day window where if it expires after 7 days, you get your money back. She doesn't have to do it. So we hit the 7 day mark, and I started to panic. So I slid into her DMs, and I had to butter her up a little bit, and I told her that, big fan, told her how beautiful she was. And I said, for my friend Jim, who's a huge fan, he's in love with you. Can you please do this for us? And she was ever so kind as to do it. And then to make things even better, I got a follow on Instagram, and Jim and Sam on Instagram got a follow from Darcy.
Now, did she not want to do it, or is she just busy and didn't have time and hadn't gotten to it?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably guess that cameo is not on the top of her list of things to do. And I was surprised too, because she's only $50 for the cameo.
Yeah.
So I would thought
think she could charge more because she's the star of that show. But also, so you're saying that maybe it wasn't that it was like a personal thing where, I don't know if I want to do this one. There is a possibility that maybe she's somewhat of a flake.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it like that because she now follows us on social media. But there could be some truth to that comment.
Dude, she was so sexy. She was so sexy. And I mean, fuck. I was like, wow, yeah, I get it. I get it.
She knows her angle, though. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Looking down on that cleavage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell the way she was strategically moving her arms. We posted the cameos, by the way. I know we did that on the Jim and Sam Show Twitter account. So if you want to see the cameos that we played yesterday for Jimmy Day, all those cameos are available on our Twitter account. Do you think that now that you guys follow each other on Instagram, that you've communicated a little bit back and forth via DM, do you think that you might possibly pursue continuing the friendship?
I don't know. There's always that possibility. I'm not going to rule that out of the question. But I mean, she's out there. So I don't know
she's a handful. She's a handful, no doubt. I like that she was opening her soul to us, even just via cameo, going like, I'm sure I'll find the right man one day. I'm gonna keep looking. I'm like, this is turned into a therapy session. We paid you $50 for a 30-second message.
Yeah.
Yeah. She felt like she was kind of going off the rails on that cameo, but
a little bit.
Yeah, she wants a man bad. You can tell.
She does. But either way, very, very successful, and I'm glad that we did get it done.
And then of course her ex Tom. We got a cameo from him, and he said Jim should slide into his DMs and he can give some advice with some help with the ladies.
Which is very nice. A very nice offer. I did not do that, though. No.
You didn't take him.
I don't like to overstay my welcome. No.
Okay. All right. No, it's probably a good thing. I like that he started as a joke. And then was like, but seriously, though, confidence is key. Like, okay, Tom, relax.
Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, confidence is helpful. He's not.
Yeah, super helpful. So I spent 25 hours total in Indiana visiting family over the weekend. And it was just like, I mean, it felt like a week, but it was like the most jam-packed trip you could ever do because we drove. I drove with my brother and my parents, and we split up the drive the first day. We did 6 hours and 6 hours.
Did your wife and the kids go too, or no? Just your brother and parents?
No, it was just my brother and parents. My wife stayed home with the kids.
Oh, okay.
And I had even said, because we had talked about it, and I had even said we can do the show remotely from wherever. And Pat McAfee's got a studio out there that I could probably use. So I told my dad, I was like, look, because it was his family. I was like, if you want to stay an extra day or something, you don't want to rush. Everybody's pretty understanding of it, but we actually ended up leaving like a few hours earlier than we anticipated. So we drove the whole drive home, the 12 hours. We just did it all in one shot.
What time did you leave?
We left there at like 2 in the afternoon. So we got home at like 2:30 in the morning or so.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, just straight through. But it is amazing. In my experience, there are like, nobody was wearing masks in Indiana. It's so funny because around here, if I walk into someplace and I'm not wearing a mask, I feel like a leper. Like, I feel like everyone's looking at me like, what are you, like one of these MAGA guys that thinks he doesn't have to wear a mask? And I'm like, no, I just forgot it in the car. Like, I don't know. I'm just in and out. Like, sorry. But there, I feel like a total nerd walking around with a mask on. Nobody's wearing masks in Indiana. Nobody's wearing masks in Indiana. Nobody's wearing masks in Ohio. Like,
Florida.
I don't think Florida, nobody's wearing masks. Yeah. There was such a difference. Like, it wasn't until, even in Pennsylvania, like upper Pennsylvania, I didn't really see any masks. It's when you start getting lower. Like, we stopped at the Jersey state line, like right after we crossed Pennsylvania, we stopped. And that's where finally people were starting to wear masks again. Like, when I went into the gas station store at the top of New Jersey there, everybody was wearing masks again. And I was like, oh, this is where you have to wear masks. But
of course,
elsewhere, like, no, people are like, what are you, some kind of nerd?
You didn't have to wear them in the gas stations out there? Or the convenience stores?
No, we stopped way up in Penn. Like, we literally stopped at the first stop after Ohio. So, no, I mean, at right by Ohio, Pennsylvania, no, nobody.
But even into Ohio and some of the other states that you went through, you didn't have to wear them?
Oh, hell no. I mean, dude, I came back there. I got corona tested yesterday, which, by the way, it takes 7 days to get results on. So it's useless. Who cares? Like, what? I mean,
it took me 2 weeks.
So maybe it'll take even longer. But it's like, I mean, I need to find out now if I have corona. I want to know if I'm going to infect my family or not. Like, what difference does it make? You're going to tell me a week from now that I had corona a week ago? Like, who cares?
You need like a J.G. Wentworth corona test.
It's my test results, and I want them now. But, yeah, and the only reason that I even bothered getting the test, because we were pretty safe the whole time. I mean, masks everywhere. 2 nights in a hotel, which I didn't like. That's why I was kind of glad that we just trudged through the last drive home and just went the whole 12 hours straight so I could just go home to my house. But I replaced the pillowcases on the bed. I sprayed everything in the room. I had some like disinfectant spray and just sprayed everything down that anybody could conceivably touch. The only part that was scary, really, was the hotel lobby in Indiana. Because, I mean, it was like there was a convention in town. People were in the pool. People were in the gym. The lobby was crowded. Nobody wearing masks. Literally, there were people right outside the lobby, just sitting around in a tight circle, telling stories by the campfire. And not one. I did not see a single mask in the hotel in Indiana. And it was packed.
Just sitting around telling tales?
Telling tales.
Right.
It's so crazy. I was like, what's going on? Like, this is what's happening. It's no effort whatsoever. And then, every stop we would make, I did not stop. I was literally on low fuel because we stopped a couple times in Ohio on the way up because Ohio is a pretty big state. And you didn't see masks anywhere. So I was like, fuck this. I'm not stopping. We went all the way through Ohio until the fuel was, on red. Stopped at the first gas station in Pennsylvania. And still nobody was wearing masks there. No, it was
really it's crazy how people just don't think it's going to happen to them.
Yeah. Yeah. The vibe is nothing's happening. Relax. Nothing's happening. It's people talking close, hanging out, touching everything, no masks, no problem. It's like, wow. And then once you get into Jersey is where it was like, people were taking it seriously again. So,
yeah, or they think that it's happening in cities like Miami, New York, Dallas, it doesn't hit those like super, suburban areas.
Yeah, that's what you hear. Well, it's very low in our county. Well, I know you hear that in the state,
the
it's high, but it's very low in our county. Yeah, so I'm interested in what's going to happen. I mean, I don't think I came into contact with anything. Oh. The only way I would come into contact with anything is if my family there had it. But there's a bunch of old people there, so if anybody there had it, they would have gotten it already. Old people with weak immune systems. So
but I feel like that's scary that the turnaround time taking so long. Because I was like, okay, I'm coming back. I was down south. I was in a hot spot area. I'm going to get tested immediately because I was going to go home and see my family. So I was like, I want that peace of mind. A week from now, they said 3 to 5 days is what it takes for the testing. And it literally took 2 weeks. How many people could I have infected in 2 weeks?
Yeah. Or gotten infected again. If you get a negative result, like who cares at that point? Right? Yeah. You get this negative result and you're like, yeah, but what's happened over the last 7 days? I got to get tested again.
I know. I'm feeling that right now.
2 weeks. So you get the test result back and it means absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Okay, so good. I didn't catch corona down south. Okay. What about here in New York?
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Well, even AIDS has an incubation time. I mean, you got to get the best one you can. The most recent one you can get 2 weeks, but at least it's not like a 4 month. I think with HIV, it's months and months. At least with this one, it's a couple of weeks and you can find out if, something's going on.
I mean, with HIV, if you think you might have it, there are ways to not spread it actively everywhere that you go.
How? How?
What? But with this, that's the issue that, like, I'm sitting there going, well, what am I going to do? Because I'm not going to quarantine myself from my family for a week for a thing that I'm 98% sure that I don't have.
Right.
But then if that 2% is right and they're like, oh, a week ago you had corona, you gave it to your family, just so you know. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. Thanks for the info. I'm glad you let me know a week later. So weird.
Yeah. It's crazy when you see just giant groups of people not wearing a mask. And that's why a lot of these states are all of a sudden having this crazy resurgence. It's like, I don't like it. Just fucking, it's brief. Just short period of time. But, it could be a short period of time if everybody, because that's the thing. Like in the beginning, people were like, well, we don't have to wear masks because it's not here. You wear the masks. Right.
And then all the spots that it wasn't there, now it is. Because if everybody was just sucked it up for a month and slowed it down all together, all at the same time, maybe you wouldn't have this long, drawn-out thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that we have handled it as poorly as we have as a country.
It's rough. It's bad.
It's embarrassing. I don't care what angle you put on it. It's not just Trump's fault. I don't think he's handled it well, but it's just not just his fault. These teenagers having COVID parties, like that's not Trump. It's the American citizens. I wish the fact that we've allowed mask wearing to be politicized. We're just a stupid country, and both sides.
That's right.
I love that both sides think you're fucking right, and you're all dopes. You're just
all
sitting
wrong.
there pissing on each other, acting like you're in a position of moral superiority, and you're not. It's insane to watch how stupid. And I never say Americans are stupid. I always hated that. But I am shocked at the utter stupidity of the entire country to make this a political issue or a I'm right and you're wrong issue.
People want to be right more than they want to be healthy. They want to be right more than anything that the world has to offer. Being right feels better.
People want to be right. Yeah.
And
want to be right.
If I cannot get it and not wear a mask, then I'm right, and all of you nudniks wearing masks are wrong.
Yeah.
You're like, what's
this is it's really crazy, the obsession with, again, being heard and being correct and being proven right. And no one can just go like, yeah, I'll wear it just temporarily because, again, it's not about I can't get it. It's if I have it, I can't spread it. So if I sneeze, it kind of stays in the mask. Or if I cough, it stays. I don't have a cough. Like that's how somebody is. I don't have a cough. I'll have a cough. Just a nation full of self-centered assholes walking around screaming at each other because they think politically that they're fucking pure and justified. And it's both sides. And people don't like when you say that because you're like, well, that's both sidesism. And it's like, no, take your fucking line in the sand and suck a dick and roll over it. I'm so fucking sick of it. Everybody's dug in. You think you have integrity because you're unbending. You think that that's strength of character. I've got my belief system. Right. And you don't let any new information change anything that you might think. Dug in, asshole. I'm tired of it.
That's what drives me.
The whole country is full of dug in assholes.
Dude, that's what drives me crazy. That's why I can't take like the spokespeople seriously, like the talking heads, like the YouTubers that are like, well, this is a conservative channel and this is a liberal channel and I do this and I do that, and you're not looking at an issue and thinking about how do I actually feel about this. You're looking at an issue and figuring out how can I make it fit into my agenda.
Yeah,
you're like,
it's about me being right. People don't want to know the ultimate truth of something. They want to know, how is my version of the truth going to be seen as correct? Like, that's what we do. The whole thing, everything is a point of argument. Everything is a point of contention. And you know that this is true because on those talking head shows, you've never heard anybody go, oh, yeah, you're right. I think Jordan Peterson did that once. But by and large, you don't see anybody, whether it's on Tucker, whether it's on Rachel Maddow, none of them. Mm-hmm. When is the last time one of these hosts on any channel said, yeah, you're right, I hadn't thought of that. Good point. To an adversary.
Doesn't happen.
Never. So they're batting 1,000? Is that it? They're all such geniuses with opposite opinions that they're batting 1,000? Or are they so fucking invested in being right and seeming smart and being the smartest kid on the block and being the one who everybody congratulates? Oh my God, aren't you precocious and smart? Oh my God, you're right again. They're so obsessed with that fucking image that they cannot ever give an inch. So anyone that thinks you're reasonable because you're dug in, you're not. You're a fucking asshole and you're annoying.
And even the young ones that are, on the internet now,
too.
the next generation, you know what I mean? That are reporting on things that the mainstream's not reporting on. And here's the real story behind it. And you just watch the videos for any length of time and you realize you're doing the same thing. You're talking to a different audience and you're doing the same thing. You're just figuring out what the agenda is of this large group and how we can still all think the same. How can we make this group the enemy and our group correct? I just want to know what you think as a human being. Just be a person.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Just be a person. And if you're like, this is what I think, and then somebody goes, well, that's wrong because this. Just go like this. Oh, okay. That's good information to have. It's fine.
Nobody wants to hear. Christopher Hitchens, who was such a great speaker, said that when you censor people, when you cut them off, you're robbing yourself of hearing what they have to say. And it's funny how everyone is so afraid of being wrong. They're so afraid that they're not good enough. It's all self-centered. That's why all this virtue signaling garbage. Everybody is so afraid of being embarrassed in an argument and looking wrong and looking like they don't know what they're talking about that they don't want to take in what another person says. So they try to shut you up. They try to stop you from saying it, or they try to punish you for things you've said because they don't have the patience to kind of go through and have a logical point by point fucking discussion about what you've said. Like, nobody has the patience to do that. And it's a risk because you don't want to lose. Like when you hold up all your shit and examine it and look underneath it, a lot of times it's flawed and people don't want to be embarrassed or be proven wrong. And they say things like, I'm not going to debate genocide. Oh, woo. Aren't you filled with virtue? That's great. But it's like, it's again, that's just they're saying something that they think you can't combat. Because they're saying something that they think is so correct that that's the cement wall that they can stand on top of. It's crap.
Well, they don't want to be tone deaf, right?
And the funny thing is, like, who sets the tone? That's the arrogance of citizens. That's the arrogance, the fucking childlike arrogance. You're tone deaf. Like, you, of course, hear it. But because I don't agree with you, don't hear it. Thank you for informing me. The fact that you might disagree means you're tone deaf. It's laughable. You can't take it seriously.
You know, on that note, somebody is disagreeing with me. Jason in Indiana. They're online too. What's up, Jason? Sure.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Hello, Jason.
Good.
Oh, my, you don't have a hockey mask, do you? Go ahead, Jason. I was being coy and cute.
That's a good one. That's good.
Well, I hate to call into question any of Dr. Sam Fauci's reporting here, but I live in Indiana, and I don't know where you visited exactly, but so the most populous areas, which there are 3 counties in the central Indiana, and I live in one of those, we're all under mask orders. I can't leave the house without running in